Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we unpack financial reports and find out if these companies are growing or just throwing confetti. Today, we're diving into Cogent Biosciences Inc.'s latest 10K report. And let me tell you, this one's got some serious ups and downs to talk about, especially when it comes to their cash runway and development pipeline. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, if you like digging into what is really going on behind the stock prices, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, we have a fantastic community over on Discord, linked right down below, where we break down more of these reports together. Alright, let's get straight into it with Cogent Biosciences. They're a clinical stage biotech company focusing on developing new medicines for specific diseases. Their main drug candidate is bezuclastinib, which targets certain mutations in diseases like cystic mastocytosis, a rare blood disorder, and gastrointestinal stromal tumors, a type of cancer. They've been busy reporting positive results from crucial trials in 2025 for bezuclastinib in both these areas. They're even planning to launch this drug in the US in the second half of 2026, assuming everything goes according to plan with the regulators. Financially, this is where things get really interesting and frankly a bit intense. For the year ending the 31st of December 2025, Cogent Biosciences reported total operating expenses of a pretty significant $333.3 million. Now that is a big jump from $275.9 million the year before. Most of this increase, about $37.1 million, came from their research and development spending. This makes sense given they are advancing their key drug candidate, bezuclastinib, through late-stage clinical trials, including preparing for regulatory submissions and building out their commercial plans. Looking deeper into those research and development costs, we see that bezuclastinib development alone accounted for around $120 million. On top of that, they spent another $40 million on their earlier stage discovery programs. Think of those as their future bets. Plus, employee costs, including stock-based compensation, went up by over $21 million, showing they are building out their team, especially for those commercial launch efforts. Their general and administrative expenses also saw a substantial increase, climbing from $43.3 million in 2024 to $63.6 million in 2025. This rise is mostly due to higher staffing and support costs as the company grows and prepares for bringing their first drug to market. Now, how are they paying for all this? Well, they've been busy raising capital. As of the 31st of December 2025, Cogent Biosciences had a very healthy $900.8 million in cash equivalents, and marketable securities. This is a huge increase from the $287 million they had at the end of 2024. They seem to have raised this money through a mix of public stock offerings, including a significant one in November 2025 where they brought in about $324 million, and also by issuing convertible senior notes, which added another $222.8 million. They also did an at-the-market offering, bringing in about $159 million. It is clear they are positioning themselves to fund their operations well into 2028, covering potential drug approvals and market launches. Of course, with all this investment in development, the company is still not profitable. For 2025, their net loss was a substantial $328.9 million, up from a loss of $255.9 million in 2024. This increase in loss is directly tied to that higher spending on research and development to push bezuclastinib forward. It is important to note though that the company reports almost no revenue from sales. Currently, their revenue streams are minimal, mainly from interest income on their investments, which was about $14.7 million in 2025. This means they are almost entirely reliant on the capital they raise to fund their operations, which is typical for biotech companies at this stage. But it is a key point to remember when assessing their financial health. Let's talk about that debt then. In November 2025, they issued $230 million in convertible senior notes due in 2031. These notes are essentially a loan that can be converted into company stock under certain conditions. The interest rate on these notes is 1.625% per year. This debt adds to their financial obligations, and while it provides significant capital, it also increases their financial risk should they face any cash flow issues down the line. Looking at their cash flow from operations, it used about $264.4 million in 2025. This is a considerable increase from the $207.8 million used in 2024, largely driven by that higher R&D spend. Now, let's address the risks. Cogent themselves highlight that their entire business hinges on bezuclastinib and their ability to develop more drugs. They are facing fierce competition, and if their drug candidates do not stand out in terms of safety, effectiveness, or cost, their success is far from guaranteed. Plus, the actual number of patients who will benefit from their treatments is still an estimate, And if that market turns out to be smaller than expected, their revenue potential will take a big hit. A major risk they flag is the possibility of discovering unacceptable side effects. If that happens, they might have to stop or significantly alter the development of their drugs. This is a constant worry in drug development, as early promising results can sometimes mask later critical safety issues. They also heavily depend on outside companies for conducting their clinical trials and manufacturing their drugs. If these partners drop the ball, it could seriously delay or even derail their entire development process. This reliance on others adds another layer of risk to their already complex operations. Interestingly, they mention limitations on using their net operating losses due to ownership changes, which could affect their future tax benefits. This is a bit technical, but it essentially means that while they have losses that could reduce future taxes, the way they've structured past funding might limit how much they can actually use. When we look at the per S-Hair data for the year ending the 31st of December 2025, the net loss per common share was about $2.16. This is a bit worse than the $1.94 loss per S-Hair in 2024, but considering the massive capital raise and increased spending, it is something expected. So the big story here is Cogent Biosciences is burning through a lot of cash. Over $264 million in operating activities in just 2025, but they've also managed to raise a huge amount of capital ending 2025 with over $900 million. This gives them a substantial runway to push bezuclastinib towards potential approval and launch in late 2026. Their strategy is clear: invest heavily now for potential future returns. However, the success of this entire plan rests on bezuclastinib proving safe, effective, and accepted by the market, and on their ability to manage their extensive R&D and commercialization costs. Overall, Cogent Biosciences appears to be executing a high-stakes strategy. They are making significant investments in bezuclastinib and their pipeline, backed by substantial fundraising. The company's direction is focused and aggressive, but the risks are equally high. The key challenge will be navigating the rigorous regulatory approval process, demonstrating a clear benefit to patients, and managing their cash burn effectively until they can generate revenue. What is your take on Cogent Biosciences' aggressive push with bezuclastinib? Do you think they've raised enough cash to see this through, or are there too many risks involved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more in-depth corporate analysis. And don't forget to join our Discord community linked in the description to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Corporate Decoder.